to my channel. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a pencil dress with a puffy sleeve, and for that you will need about 2.5 yards of fabric. So for me, I'm going to be using this fabric here. So let's get into the video. So guys, the first thing I'm going to do is to fold the fabric into two and then check the weight. So the widest part of my body is the hip, which is 48. So 48 divided by 4, that's going to give me 12, plus 1 is 13. So 13 fits right in here, so that's okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go up to the shoulder, mark your normal body. So the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 17 divided by 2, that's 8.5. So come down here, armhole is 20, so come down here, mark your armhole 20 divided by 2, so that's how I got the 10. So I'm going to mark it down here. The next thing I'm going to mark now is 1 inch down this part here, and then mark your neckline. So I'm going to use about 3.5 for the wideness of the neckline instead of 3, because as you can see it has a V. And then the depth of the V, so the depth I'm working with is about 12, so I'm going to mark it now. But if you want yours deeper than that, you can go down even further, but I'm not going down further than this. So the 1 inch you came down here is for your this 1 inch is for the shoulder slant, so you connect it up to this here, right? Connect it up here, and then you also mark your halfway here, which is going to be the remaining length I have now is 9, so halfway from here is 4.5. so you connect your line and blend it in up here, right? So the next thing you're going to do now is your bust measurement. So let me mark it how it's going to be. So my shoulder to bust is about let's say 10 inches, right? So which is on this line. My shoulder to waist is 18 inches, so I'm going to mark it here. Then my shoulder to my hip is 24, so I'm going to mark that here. So then come to my bust line. My bust is 42 divided by 4, that's going to be 10.5. so 10.5 plus extra 1 inch is going to be 11.5. I'm going to mark that here. My waist measurement is 34 divided by 4. So the next 34 divided by 4, that's going to give me 8.5. 8.5 plus 1 inch for darting, that's going to be 9.5, plus extra 1 inch for seam allowance, that's going to be at 10.5. so I'm going to mark that here. So coming down to the hip here, the hip, the measurement here, 48 divided by 4, my hip is 48 divided by 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So I'm using the whole measurements on this line here. Remember, your dart doesn't get to your hip. The dart stops almost 2 inches before the line on the hip, and then it stops 1 inch below the bust. So my dart, since my shoulder to hip is 24, my dart is going to stop at almost 22. And since my bust measurement is my shoulder to bust is around 10, so my dart here is going to stop at 11. So now I'm going to connect this line here. If you have the curved ruler, that's even better. So this is what I'm working with at the moment here. So the dress length I'm working with is 35. Mine is not going to be as short as the picture, so 35 plus extra half an inch for the attaching the shoulder, and then about 2 inches for folding the bottom, so that's 2.5. I'm going to be working with 1, 2.5. so I'm going to mark at 37.5. so that's where I'm going to put my line now. So at this end here, I'm going to come in, subtract about 1 inch at this end here. If it's a longer pencil dress, normally you might subtract, if it goes down to your knee, you might subtract about 1.5 from whatever your hip measurement is, but since mine is just right on my thighs, I'm going to subtract about 1 inch here, and then you connect the line up to this point here, right? So I'm going to cut this out now. So guys, the next thing I'm going to show you guys is how to dart the dress, right? So the bust, how you're going to dart this is, so I'm just trying to make the line more visible. So remember, this is my shoulder to bust, shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, shoulder to hip, right? So what I'm going to do now is my nipple to nipple measurement. That's your breast point measurement from one point to the other. So for me, that is 8. So 8 divided by 2, that's going to be 4. So I'm going to mark 4 all the way down. What I'm going to do now is mark about 1 inch on this line, right? Put my mark. Let's say this is the half point, right? 4.5. Let's say you just take your tape, leave half an inch on this end, half an inch on this end, right? So this is about 1 inch, the 1 inch you added on the waist, and then you blend it in down here if you have your tape. So remember, your dart normally stops about 2 inches before here, so that's somewhere here. So you just mark it, blend it in all the way up here, and then blend this one in all the way up here. The same thing goes for here. It stops about an inch before you get to the bust, so you blend it in this way. If you have your ruler, that's even better. You blend it in this way, and then you blend the other side. So this is what you're supposed to be doing on the wrong side of the fabric, right? But I already know how I do my band, so I'm just trying to show you guys how you would normally do it, like if you're just starting. So this is the dart here. So let's say this is when I go to sew, I pinch it in, right? I pinch it in this way and then make my stitch, right? You see, it's covering in the dress up to this point, and then curve it in also this point. So that's how you get your dart. So you see what it would look like. So apart from this here, so let's go back to the neckline. So if you don't want because if you look at the picture on the thumbnail, you see that the neckline, the V is not just straight, the V goes deep. So that's how the bust, the top part of the bust is showing. So if you want yours like that, then you can just give it a little curve, because this goes like a straight line. So it's just going to be straight V. But if you want some parts of the top of the bust to show, then you might want to give it a curve. So start from the end of the line and then put your hand in, right? Put your hand in a little bit more and curve your. So now this is my new neckline here. Just give it a little curve instead of the straight V, so that you have more cleavage showing. So now I'm going to cut the neckline out. So guys, this is what the front panel is looking like. So with this here, I'm going to cut the back panel. So guys, this is what it looks like at the moment. I've cut out the back panel. So basically, I just added about 1.5 inch for the zip allowance at the back. So that's the difference between the front and the back. And then I also came down by about 1 inch for the back neckline here. So I'm going to mark that out now. So guys, I've cut it and then I opened up the back panel. So now I also cut out the neckline. So now I'm going to show you guys how to cut the sleeve. So guys, I've gone ahead and cut out the 2 piece I'm going to be using for my sleeve, right? I have 2 of these here. And how I got it, this is the width, my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So that's about 10 inches. And then I left about half an inch for my seam allowance here. So sorry, not my shoulder measurement, my armhole divided by 2. So what I'm going to do now is, because this is going to be a puffy sleeve, the puffiness, I want it to be about 2 inches, 2.5, right? So I'm going to come down by 2.5 inches here. So now I'll also, so this is the mark for the 2.5. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to come down by 4 inches for my sleeve cap, which is going to be here. And then I'm going to mark for the line for my sleeve cap here. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark from this point here to this point here, right? This point of where the sleeve cap started to the line that I drew for the 4 inches. So my sleeve cap height is 4 inches, this is the extra 2.5 that I want to use as my puffy part. But if you want it more puffy, then use about 3 inches or what, however you want. So I'm using 2.5 for mine. So the next thing you're going to do is to make a line from this end to this end, right? And then find the, so for me, the line I have here is about 11.5, right? So in between is going to be, in between this line is going to be somewhere at 5.7, right? So which is somewhere here. So what I'm going to do now is to mark my normal sleeve, right? And then connect it here. This line that I drew here is for the cap. So the next thing I'm going to do is that midway point that I have here, I'm also going to connect it. So I've drawn from this point, I made sure to draw my main sleeve. So right, this normally this would be my normal sleeve, right? But the excess that I added for the cap is going to start from this midpoint here, right? The midpoint is where the excess is going to start. So you just mark your cap at this point here. If you have the curve ruler, that is even better. I don't have it, so I normally just go off. So this is now my cap. This is so I'm not going to touch this end of the sleeve. I'm going to leave it open like that because of how open the end of the sleeve on the picture is. So the length of my sleeve is supposed to be, I added about 2 inches for my, to fold the end of this sleeve. So the total I'm working with here is about 15 inches. So that's basically it. I'm going to cut this out now. So guys, what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and fold the end of this here, as in fold the end here, and then also use like a needle or thread to gather this top part here. So I'm just going to gather this top part here. Make sure to, because I already notched it, make sure to attach it at the top part of the sleeve, right? The top part of the sleeve, and then fixing the ends of the sleeve the normal way I would put it in, and then close up the side. And also remember, for the darting of the dress, the darting goes. So guys, for this darting that I marked here, remember you're supposed to mark it on the wrong side of the dress so that you can see it and pinch it out, right, when you're going to sew it. Like, so because if it's on the right side, you're sewing on the wrong side, so you can't be able to see it. So remember, fold your fabric into 2 and mark the whole thing on the wrong side. Mark it on the 2 sides, on this side and also on this side. I'm here to put, so guys, this is what it looks like at the moment. I'm here to put in the zip, and this is the puffy part of the sleeve. So this is the sleeve here, this is the body of the dress here. So this is what it looks like. And if you want your sleeve a little wider at the end, then when you're cutting it, maybe like when you're cutting the sleeve, instead of keeping it straight this way, try to make it like an angle this way, so that way is more open. But I don't want mine that wide, so that's why I went with a straight line. But if you want yours wide at the end, maybe just go a little bit sideways, like you're making a funnel. So that's what mine looks at the end. And then also I want to correct something at the end. When you want to remove the 1 inch at the bottom, right, like when you add the few inches to fold the end of your dress, always fold it this way before you start to, before you make your mark, so that when you go to fold the sleeve, is equal. To explain is that at the end of the dress, right, this is like, let's say I've not folded it, this is the end, the part where you subtracted 1 inch here. If you want to do it, fold the fabric this way before you do that, like fold it this way, then subtract the 1 inch, so that when you straighten it, you still have enough fabric by the width to be able to fold it. Because remember, if you make an angle this way, let's say this is an angle now, you see how this is not straight. So when you try to, it's even more narrower coming down here. So when you try to fold this in, the width at this end here is not the same length as the width here, you see. So that's where your fabric will look, it will look rough. But if you fold it this way and then subtract the 1 inch, cut it off, then when you try to tuck it in to finish up the rough edge, your fabric won't, it will just blend in and it will be enough space. So guys, I also put a dart at the back of the dress. So this is the dart, you won't be able to see it. So it stopped about 7 inches up here and 22 inches down here. So that is on the two sides at the back. So that's basically, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Bye.